Chapter 1. The Newcomer. The shuttle bay doors hissed open, and Ethan stepped onto the gleaming platform of the Intergalactic Academy, his boots clanking lightly on the metallic floor. Around him, a flurry of alien students from various worlds hustled past, some with shimmering scales, others with swirling mists for faces. None spared him more than a curious glance, the lone human in a sea of interstellar diversity. Human Ethan Harris, a voice buzzed over his shoulder. He turned to see a tall, thin creature with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glittered like distant stars. "That's me," Ethan replied, extending his hand in a human gesture of greeting. The alien stared at his hand briefly before nodding, understanding the intent but bypassing the handshake. "I am Zorlex, your guide and the Academy's coordinator for your division. Follow me, please. Your orientation group is about to start, and we must not delay." As they walked through the corridors, Ethan noticed the walls adorned with banners celebrating past champions from various galactic sports. He felt a mix of excitement and nerves, knowing well the reputation of his assigned team, the Zephyrs. Known more for their losses than their gameplay, the team was a hodgepodge of species with supposedly minimal compatibility. Zorlex led him into a small amphitheater filled with a dozen or so creatures, each one as unique as the next. A pair of twin crinoids with bark-like skin and luminescent leaves for hair nodded at him. A Gantherian, bulky and covered in soft fur, gave a low growl that Ethan took for a greeting. "Team Zephyr, this is Ethan Harris, your new team captain," Zorlex announced, causing a murmur of surprise and some obvious disbelief among the group. "A human? Our captain?" a voice piped up from the back. It belonged to a lithe creature with an elongated face and multiple eyes that blinked asynchronously. No offense, but what could humans possibly know about galactic tournaments? Ethan stepped forward, feeling every eye in the room on him. "Look, I know I'm the odd one out here," he started, his voice steady. "I may not have multiple limbs or psychic abilities, but I've got something else. Tactical thinking and a spirit to keep pushing forward. Give me a chance, and I'll give you my best to make us win." The Gantherian grunted, stepping forward, his large frame towering over Ethan. "I am Tharn. If you are to be our captain, then I will judge you by your actions, not your species. Led well, human." "Thank you, Tharn. I won't let you down." As the meeting concluded, a Mavixen, known for their quick reflexes and sharp minds, approached Ethan. "I'm Lysa. I handle our defense strategies. I'm willing to see what you've got, Ethan. Maybe you'll surprise us." "Thanks, Lysa. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Let's start tomorrow with fresh ideas and a new perspective. We'll meet on the training ground." As the creatures dispersed, Ethan felt the weight of his new role settle on his shoulders. He knew winning over his team would be his first and possibly toughest challenge. He also knew he had no intention of letting the title of weakest team define them, not anymore. Chapter 2. Understanding the Team. The morning sun cast a soft glow over the training grounds of the Intergalactic Academy, where Ethan stood surveying the area that would become the proving ground for Team Zephyr. As the team members trickled in, each offered Ethan a nod or a gesture of acknowledgement, a significant improvement from yesterday's skepticism. "All right, everyone, let's circle up," Ethan called out, clapping his hands for attention. The team members formed an uneven circle around him, their varied heights and shapes creating a mosaic of intergalactic diversity. "First off, thank you for showing up. That's the first step in changing our trajectory," Ethan began, his voice projecting confidence he hoped was contagious. "I spent last night reviewing past game footage, and I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from you all first. What do you think has been holding us back?" Tharn, the Gantherian, stepped forward, his voice rumbling deep from his chest. "Coordination. We come from different planets, different cultures. Our reflexes and instincts don't always align. Lysa the Mavixen flicked his tail, a sign of agreement. He's right. And our communication needs work. I can't count how many times we've misinterpreted each other's signals during a game. Okay, that's a start. Coordination and communication, Ethan repeated, scribbling notes on his digital pad. Anything else? A new voice chimed in, belonging to Rav, a reptilian sage with a keen strategic mind. Adaptability. We struggle to adjust our strategy mid-game. When our initial plan fails, we falter. Nods of agreement echoed Rav's statement. Ethan looked around, his mind racing with potential drills that could enhance their adaptive strategies. Great points, all. Here's what we're going to do, Ethan said, stepping into the center of the circle. We'll start with some basic drills to get synced up. Then, we'll move on to real-time strategy games where we change the rules randomly. This will force us to adapt on the fly and improve our communication. The team members exchanged curious glances, but seemed intrigued by the plan. The drills started with basic passing exercises, using a ball that changed density and size at random intervals, mimicking the unpredictability of their game ball in tournament play. Ethan watched as Tharn and a smaller, quicker teammate named Jix attempted to pass the ball back and forth, their initial fumbles turning into a rhythm as they adjusted to each other's styles. Nice adjustment, Jix, Ethan called out, giving a thumbs up. The small Gilpian, whose species was known for their speed, beamed under the praise. As the morning progressed, Ethan introduced the strategy game. I'll call out changes randomly. New rules each time. Let's see how quickly we can pivot. The game was chaotic at first, with members hesitating or making old plays out of habit. But as Ethan gently reminded them of the new rules and encouraged them to keep communicating, the flow gradually improved. During a short break, Ethan pulled Rav aside. I noticed you're quick to pick up on strategy shifts. How do you feel about helping me lead some of these drills? Rav's chest puffed out, his scales shimmering with pride. I would be honored, Captain. I can share some techniques from SSOYTH training programs that might help. Perfect. Let's integrate that in the next round, Ethan said, clapping Rav on the shoulder. As the team gathered again, Ethan felt a cautious optimism building. They were far from perfect, but the seeds of unity were beginning to sprout. All right, Team Zephyr, let's take what we've learned and push a little harder. We're going to get better, one drill at a time, Ethan announced, watching as his team nodded, their faces set with new determination. The training session ended with laughter and light-hearted banter, a sound so rarely associated with Team Zephyr that it felt like a small victory in itself. As they left the field, Ethan knew they had taken their first real steps toward becoming not just a team, but a force to be reckoned with. Chapter 3. Strategies and Bonding. The morning air was crisp as Ethan arrived at the training ground, finding some of his teammates already warming up, a good sign that the tide was turning in their favor. With the sun rising behind him, he clapped his hands to gather the team. Morning, Zephyrs. Today we focus on strategy and team cohesion, Ethan announced, projecting his voice over the sound of assorted stretches and exercises. Tharn lumbered over, his massive form towering beside Ethan. I've got a few ideas from yesterday's drills. Maybe a few adjustments on how we handle the ball pass in mid-air. Let's hear them, Ethan encouraged, pulling out his digital pad to take notes. As Tharn explained his ideas, involving body positioning and tail balance for the non-humanoid team members, Lysa joined the discussion. If we can synchronize our tail movements with the pass, it could give us an edge. Timing is critical. Ethan nodded, intrigued by the integration of natural abilities into their gameplay. Good stuff. Let's set up a drill to practice that. Lysa, you lead this one, please. With Lysa directing, the team practiced the new passing technique. Ethan watched as initial awkwardness gave way to fluid motions, the team members growing more confident with each pass. After the drills, Ethan introduced a new session. Time for a little bonding exercise. We're going to do a trust fall. Everyone participates. We learn to trust each other, in game and out. There were murmurs of uncertainty, but the team lined up. One by one, they fell back into the waiting arms of their teammates. Each successful catch met with cheers and laughter. "It's your turn, Captain," Jix piped up, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Ethan chuckled, positioning himself. "All right, catch me and don't let me hit the ground." As he let himself fall back, strong arms caught him securely. Opening his eyes, he saw Tharn and Rav, grinning. "Didn't think we'd let you fall, did you?" "Never doubted for a second," Ethan replied, climbing to his feet. With the team energized by the trust exercises, Ethan decided it was time to push them a bit further. "Let's end today with a scrimmage. Put everything we've worked on into practice." The scrimmage was intense, the team implementing their new strategies. Ethan observed from the sidelines, noting the improved communication and coordination. When they gathered after the game, he was ready with his feedback. "You're getting better every day. Remember, the goal isn't just to win. It's to grow as a team, to trust each other, and to use our strengths to our advantage," Ethan said, looking at each of his teammates. Rav approached, wiping sweat from his brow. "This was good, Captain. I think we're starting to feel like a real team." "That's the goal," Ethan affirmed. "And remember, we're not just training for a tournament. We're building something that lasts beyond just one game." As the team dispersed, Lysa lingered behind. "Ethan, can we talk?" "Of course," Ethan said, as they walked towards the equipment shed. "I've been skeptical about a human leading us," Lysa admitted, his tail flicking slightly. "But you're proving me wrong. You've got vision, and you're pulling us together." Ethan smiled, appreciating the honesty. "Thanks, Lysa. It means a lot to hear that from you. We've all got something to contribute. It's about finding how those pieces fit together." Lysa nodded, extending his hand, this time initiating the handshake. "Let's keep pushing. I think we might just surprise everyone at the tournament." "Let's shock the galaxy," Ethan agreed, shaking Lysa's hand firmly. As they left the field, the setting sun cast long shadows, symbolizing the growing unity of Team Zephyr. Tomorrow they would train again, but today they walked off the field not as a collection of players, but as a team united by a common goal. Chapter 4. The First Victory. The arena buzzed with the murmurs of anticipation as Ethan led Team Zephyr into the preparation room. The match was their first real test, a small-scale qualifying round to gauge teams before the Galactic tournament. As they stepped into the holding area, holographic screens displayed their names alongside their opponents, Team Tarvex. "Team Tarvex," Lysa muttered, watching the screens. "They're fast. Their reflexes are genetically engineered for speed, and they've never lost to a team ranked lower than them." "Then let's make history," Ethan replied confidently, adjusting his uniform. The team stood in a loose circle, glancing at each other, a mixture of nerves and anticipation clouding their expressions. Ethan could feel the tension, thick and almost tangible. "All right, Zephyrs," Ethan began, his voice steady as he looked at each of them. "This is just a qualifying round. I don't care what their record is or where they come from. What matters is us, how we play together. Trust the drills, trust each other, and remember, no one fights alone." Tharn cracked his massive knuckles with a grin. "They'll underestimate us, Captain. That's their first mistake." "Exactly," Ethan agreed. Stick to the plan. Lysa, control the defense. Jix and Rav, stay mobile. Tharn, you're our anchor. And me, I'll orchestrate from the midline. Got it. Nods all around. The team had been tested in practice, but this was the real deal. Ethan could feel the weight of the moment pressing against him, but it didn't deter him. He thrived under pressure. As the arena doors hissed open, the Zephyrs entered the field. Ethan blinked under the harsh glow of artificial light. Around them, alien spectators filled the stands, a mix of cheers and laughter echoing through the enormous stadium. He could hear snide comments directed at them, snippets like, "Oh, it's the humans and misfits and Zephyrs? They're just here to lose again." Ethan's jaw tightened. Let them talk. Team Tarvex entered on the opposite end, their tall, sinewy players moving like liquid as they took their positions. Their captain, a sleek Tarvanian with silver skin and eyes that glowed faintly, smirked across the field at Ethan. "A human captain," he called out mockingly. "This'll be quick." Ethan returned the smirk. "We'll see." The whistle blew. The game begins. The ball, a glowing sphere that pulsed and shifted unpredictably, launched into the air. Tarvex players moved like lightning, closing gaps before Ethan could blink. But Zephyr wasn't unprepared. "Tharn! Anchor!" Ethan shouted. Tharn planted himself like a mountain in the center of the field. A Tarvanian tried to muscle past him, but Tharn extended his broad arms and held his ground. "Not today!" Tharn bellowed, shoving the opponent back and intercepting the ball. "Lysa, cover left!" Ethan yelled as the ball rebounded. Lysa, quick and agile, darted into position, snatching the ball mid-bounce and flipping it back toward Jix. Jix cut through. Jix zipped across the field, his small size and speed letting him evade two Tarvex defenders who crashed into each other trying to catch him. The audience gasped. "Ethan, I'm open," Rav called, signaling with a scaled hand. "Go for it," Ethan shouted, running alongside him. Rav took the shot, a perfect throw that spun the ball into the Tarvex goal net. The buzzer rang. A red glow lit up the Zephyr score, 1-0. Cheers erupted from their corner of the stadium. Team Tarvex exchanged frustrated glances, their arrogance shaken. Building momentum. As the game progressed, Ethan's strategy unfolded. Where Tarvex relied on raw speed, the Zephyrs relied on precision and teamwork. At one point, a Tarvex player lunged at Ethan, nearly knocking him over. He ducked at the last second, spinning to pass the ball to Lysa. "Take it!" Lysa kicked the ball skyward, where Jix leaped impossibly high, catching it and diving to score. 2-0. Tarvex's captain snarled, his silver skin darkening. "Tighten up. Stop playing around." Ethan grinned as he regrouped his team during a quick timeout. "See that? We've got them rattled. Stick to the plan. Focus on defense and catch them on counterattacks. They're fast," Rav hissed. "They're going to start pressing harder. Then we outthink them," Ethan replied. "Trust me, we've got this." The final moments. The match neared its final stretch. Tarvex scored once, closing the gap to 2-1, but Zephyr refused to falter. Every time Tarvex pressed forward, Tharn blocked, Rav intercepted, and Lysa guided their counterattacks. With a minute left on the clock, the Tarvex captain broke free, streaking toward their goal. Ethan's heart pounded. "Tharn! Cut him off!" Tharn charged, forcing the Tarvanian to veer right, straight into Rav's waiting path. Rav snatched the ball and hurled it downfield. "Ethan now!" Jix yelled. Ethan sprinted, muscles burning as he caught the pass, darting past the last defender. He feigned a shot, sending the Tarvex goalkeeper lunging left, then flicked the ball into the open net. The buzzer screamed as the scoreboard flashed. 3-1. Victory. Team Zephyr. Celebration. For a moment, the arena fell silent. Then cheers erupted, this time for them. Ethan turned, catching sight of his teammates' stunned expressions before they mobbed him, shouting and cheering. "We did it!" Jix cried, bouncing in excitement. Tharn slapped Ethan on the back so hard he nearly toppled over. "You led us, Captain. You made this happen." Ethan grinned, breathless. "We made this happen, together." As they exited the field, the Tarvex captain intercepted Ethan, his silver eyes narrowed. "Don't get comfortable. You won't be so lucky next time." Ethan shrugged, smiling. "We don't need luck. Just each other." Tarvex's captain stalked off, leaving the Zephyrs to celebrate their first hard-earned victory. Lysa walked up beside Ethan, his tail swishing thoughtfully. "You know, I didn't think we'd ever pull this off." "You believed when it mattered," Ethan replied. "That's what counts." Rav, standing nearby, added, "Let's see how far we can take this, Captain." Ethan looked at his team, the weight of their shared accomplishment sinking in. "As far as we want, Zephyrs. As far as we want." For the first time, the title of weakest team no longer seemed to fit. They weren't perfect yet, but they were something far greater, a team with purpose and a spark no one could deny. Chapter 5. Deepening Connections. The light hum of the training arena's lights cast a faint glow across the empty field as Ethan leaned against the wall, scribbling notes onto his pad. It was late, past their usual practice hours, but the Zephyrs were pushing themselves harder than ever since their first victory. "You're still here, Captain," came a familiar rumbling voice. Tharn, the Gantherian, entered the room, carrying a weight bar that looked as if it could flatten most species. Ethan smirked. "You're one to talk. What are you doing with that thing?" "Strength training," Tharn replied, setting the bar down with a thud that vibrated through the floor. "Winning felt good, but it means the others will come for us harder. I intend to be ready." "You and me both," Ethan said, rubbing his neck. "Tomorrow's match isn't just another game. It's against Team Vexor. They've been together for years." Tharn snorted, a sound like gravel rolling downhill. "They're nothing we can't handle if we work together." "That's the spirit," Ethan said, patting Tharn's arm, a small gesture, but one that spoke volumes about their growing bond. The doors slid open, and the rest of the team began trickling in. Jix bounced in first, his energy as boundless as ever, followed by Lysa, who carried a data tablet under one arm, and Rav, his sharp scales shimmering in the low light. "You called for an extra meeting?" Lysa asked, sliding into place beside Ethan. "Yeah," Ethan began, standing straighter as the team gathered. "Tomorrow is a big game. Vexor is coordinated, fast, and unpredictable. We're going to need to take everything we've learned so far and build on it." Rav hissed thoughtfully. "They like to dominate the midfield. If we can disrupt their flow." "That's the plan," Ethan agreed. He knelt, drawing a quick map of the field on the ground with a marker. "Here's how we counter them. Lysa, you anchor the defensive backline. Tharn, I want you here, holding the center against their captain. He'll test you." Tharn grinned. "Let him try. Jix, you and I are on midline mobility. We'll focus on intercepting passes and forcing errors. Rav, I need you watching for their strikers' patterns. He's slippery, but predictable if you're paying attention." Jix tapped Ethan on the shoulder, his small form practically buzzing with energy. "What about speed drills?" We'll need them. Ethan smiled. I had the same thought. Let's hit the field now. No better way to prepare than live practice. Under the lights. The team burst onto the training field under the simulated stadium lights, the air filled with faint static hums. Ethan set the pace, running alongside his teammates, shouting encouragement. Jix, faster on the pivots. Rav, cover the left. On it, Captain. Rav called back, his movements slicing through the air with surgical precision. Ethan passed the ball to Lysa, who deftly redirected it mid-stride to Jix. The ball, a shifting, glowing sphere, sped forward. Tharn intercepted, using his massive frame to shield it, then launched it back toward Ethan. Ethan caught it on the bounce and sprinted downfield, his muscles burning. He felt Jix alongside him, matching his pace. Ethan grinned and passed the ball to the Gilpian. Take the shot. Jix flipped in the air, his small frame twisting elegantly, and hurled the ball into the practice goal. The net shimmered red as the virtual sensors confirmed the score. Nice work! Ethan shouted, breathing hard as he jogged back toward the group. That's what I want to see tomorrow. Trust, movement, precision. We'll win this together, but only if we stick to the plan. The team gathered, panting and laughing from exertion. Tharn nudged Ethan with a grin. You run almost as hard as I do. Almost, Ethan teased, shaking his head. I'll take that as a compliment. A quiet moment. After training, the team dispersed to their quarters, leaving Ethan alone to clean up the equipment. He was gathering the stray training balls when he noticed Lysa lingering by the sidelines. Something on your mind? Ethan asked, tossing the last ball into the crate. Lysa approached, his usual sharp demeanor softened. You really believe we can beat Vexor, don't you? I do, Ethan replied without hesitation. Why? Don't you? Lysa hesitated, then sighed. It's not that. I've been on this team for 3 cycles. We've always been a joke. No trust, no cohesion. It's strange to believe things are different now. Because they are, Ethan said, his tone steady. This team isn't the same group that walked onto this field a week ago. We're growing because we're learning to trust one another. And that includes you, Lysa. Lysa's tail flicked, a small sign of approval. You've changed us, Ethan. Ethan smiled. We changed ourselves. I'm just here to help guide it. For the first time, Lysa returned the smile, albeit faintly. I'll be ready for tomorrow. I know you will, Ethan said. The calm before the storm. Later that night, Ethan sat alone in the empty prep room, replaying their drills in his head. The echoes of the team's laughter and shouts of victory lingered in the air, reminders of how far they'd come. He felt a shift, something he couldn't quite describe, as if the energy they'd built as a team was beginning to transform into something solid, something unshakable. As he leaned back against his chair, the door slid open, and Tharn's unmistakable silhouette filled the frame. You're still awake. Could say the same for you, Ethan replied. Tharn entered, folding his massive arms. It's good, what you're doing for us. Ethan shrugged, smiling faintly. We're doing it together, Tharn. Tomorrow we prove it. Tharn grunted in agreement. Then get some rest, Captain. You'll need it. As Tharn left, Ethan let out a deep breath, his mind finally quieting. Tomorrow wasn't just another game. It was a chance to show everyone that Team Zephyr was no longer the weakest team in the academy. And this time, they wouldn't back down. Chapter 6. The Turning Point. The hum of the crowd reverberated through the air as Team Zephyr filed into the arena tunnel. The energy in the stadium was electric. This was no ordinary match. Team Vexor was a known powerhouse, their flawless record and superior coordination earning them a fearsome reputation. Ethan stood at the front of his team, his shoulders squared and expression calm. Beside him, Tharn cracked his knuckles, the sound like stone grinding against stone. Lysa adjusted his gloves, his sharp gaze scanning the arena. Rav flicked his tail restlessly, while Jix bounced lightly on his feet, unable to keep still. "You're quiet, Captain," Tharn rumbled, glancing down at Ethan. Ethan smiled faintly. "Saving my energy for the field." He turned to face his team. "Listen up, Zephyrs. Vexor is fast, organized, and relentless, but we're ready for them. Everything we've worked on, our positioning, passing, communication, it's time to put it all together. Win or lose, we fight as a team. You hear me?" "Yes, Captain," Jix shouted enthusiastically. Tharn grinned. "Let's make them regret underestimating us." Lysa nodded. "I'll control their midfield advances. We'll hold." "Good." Ethan tightened his gloves. "Remember, don't let them dictate the pace. Play smart, stay aware, and trust each other." The arena doors opened with a low hiss, and the flood of sound crashed over them like a wave. The crowd roared as the teams took their places on the field. Holographic displays lit up above, flashing the names of Team Vexor and Team Zephyr. Ethan ignored the crowd's chants, focusing only on the field before him. Across from them, the Vexor players stood tall and confident, their captain, a towering, armored figure named Jareth, grinning smugly. "The Zephyrs? I hope you're ready to learn what real teams look like." Ethan shot him a level look. "You'll find we're quick learners." The whistle blew. The battle on the field. The ball exploded into the air, and the match began with a furious intensity. Team Vexor wasted no time, their players charging forward like a precision machine. Ethan sprinted into position, intercepting a pass intended for Jareth's striker. "Lysa, cover left." Ethan barked, redirecting the ball with a quick pass. Lysa darted into place, snatching the ball mid-air and flinging it to Jix, who weaved through defenders with his natural speed. Vexor players closed in fast. "Jix, swing it back," Ethan called. Jix passed the ball just as two defenders lunged at him, narrowly missing. Ethan caught the ball, pivoting to avoid Jareth, who barreled toward him like a freight train. Ethan juked left, then shot the ball back to Rav. Rav, his scales glinting under the arena lights, lunged and took a shot toward Vexor's goal. The ball soared, only for their goalkeeper to leap and deflect it at the last moment. The crowd groaned. "Close, Rav," Ethan shouted encouragingly as they retreated to reset. Vexor regained possession, moving with coordinated speed. They pressed hard, testing Zephyr's defensive line. Lysa and Tharn worked in tandem, blocking shots and redirecting passes. "Hold the line," Tharn growled, slamming his massive shoulder into an advancing striker, sending him stumbling backward. "They're pushing harder," Lysa called out, narrowly deflecting another shot. "Let them," Ethan said, eyes narrowing. "They're wearing themselves out, finding the weakness." Midway through the first half, the score remained 0-0, an outcome no one had expected against Vexor. Ethan paced near the midfield line, observing their opponents carefully. Jareth barked orders, frustration creeping into his tone. "They're too rigid," Ethan muttered to Lysa during a brief time-out. "They don't know how to handle unpredictability." Lysa nodded, understanding dawning. "We push chaos, then. Quick passes, sudden breaks. Don't let them settle." "Exactly," Ethan said. He turned to the team. "Listen up. We change the rhythm now. Short passes, fast breaks. Keep them guessing. The whistle blew, and the match resumed. Rav intercepted a long pass from Vexor, hurling the ball toward Ethan. Now! Ethan caught it and sprinted upfield, the ball glowing in his hands. Jix appeared on his left. Jix, take it. Ethan passed the ball just before a defender reached him. Jix broke forward, faster than any Vexor player could react. Their defense scrambled, leaving a small gap open. Tharn charged the center. Ethan yelled. Tharn roared, barreling through the Vexor line like a juggernaut. Jix passed the ball at the last second, and Tharn slammed it into the goal with a force that sent the net rippling. The arena erupted as the scoreboard lit up. 1-0 Zephyr. The fight to the finish. The second half was relentless. Vexor doubled their efforts, attacking with renewed desperation, but Team Zephyr held strong. Ethan moved like a conductor, calling plays and adjusting their formation on the fly. Lysa, pull back. Tharn, hold the center. Jix now. Every player executed their role perfectly, shutting down Vexor's advances. Frustration turned to panic for their opponents, and mistakes began to show. With 2 minutes left, Jareth broke through the midfield, charging toward Zephyr's goal. Tharn, cover him, Ethan shouted. Tharn closed the gap, but Jareth managed a last-second shot. The ball streaked toward the net, only for Lysa to leap into its path, deflecting it with his tail. The crowd gasped. Clear it! Lysa roared. Rav seized the ball, launching it downfield. Ethan sprinted, pushing his legs to the limit. He caught the pass and charged the goal, 2 defenders on his heels. Take the shot, Captain! Jix shouted. Ethan planted his foot and struck the ball with everything he had. It arced through the air, spinning as if drawn by invisible forces, then slammed into the corner of the goal. The buzzer blared. 2-0, Zephyr. Victory. The arena exploded in sound. Ethan fell to his knees, breathless, as his team swarmed him. Tharn hoisted him off the ground, roaring in triumph. You did it, Captain! Jix shouted, bouncing with uncontainable excitement. No, Ethan said, grinning. We did it. As the team celebrated, Ethan turned to see Jareth watching them, his face a mix of disbelief and grudging respect. Jareth nodded once before walking off the field. Lysa clapped Ethan on the shoulder. You said we could beat them. I'm starting to believe you're always right. Ethan laughed. Don't get used to it. Together, Team Zephyr walked off the field, their heads high. They weren't just contenders anymore. They were a team to be feared. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 7. The Final Challenge. The massive tournament arena stretched as far as the eye could see, glowing under the artificial sky of the Galactic Academy's grand stadium. Ethan stood at the center of the preparation room, flanked by his team. The noise from tens of thousands of spectators thundered faintly through the walls. This was it, the final match of the Galactic tournament. Ethan turned to look at his team, the faces of those who had come so far with him. Tharn stood steady, his massive arms folded across his chest, as solid as a mountain. Lysa, ever sharp, adjusted his gloves, focused and ready. Rav coiled his tail restlessly, a small smirk crossing his reptilian face. Jix hopped from foot to foot, practically vibrating with excitement. The announcer's voice echoed overhead, booming throughout the stadium. Welcome to the Galactic Tournament Finals. Facing off today, the reigning champions, Team Irvalis, and the rising challengers, Team Zephyr. A cheer erupted from the crowd, a mix of voices both supportive and doubtful. Team Irvalis was undefeated for 4 consecutive seasons, a team hailed as unbeatable. Ethan caught a glimpse of their players entering the arena on the other side. They were imposing, tall, sleek, and coordinated, their captain, a tall figure with glowing blue skin, stepping forward with effortless confidence. Tharn rumbled lowly. They look like they're carved out of stone. Good, Ethan replied, flashing a grin. Maybe we'll chip a few cracks into them. The team chuckled softly, but the nerves were still there. Ethan took a deep breath, stepping forward. Listen up, Zephyrs. His voice cut through the tension like a blade. This is it. The final match. Ivalice has the reputation, but reputations don't win games. Teams do. We've proven we can play together. We've faced every challenge they threw at us, and we're still standing. Trust each other, trust the game plan, and don't let them set the rhythm. No matter what happens, we leave it all on the field. Lysa nodded, his voice calm. We're ready, Captain. Let's take this, Ethan, Jix added, practically bouncing. Tharn cracked his knuckles with a grin. Lead us, and we'll do the rest. Zephyrs on 3, Ethan called, extending his hand. The team huddled close. 1, 2, 3. Zephyrs. The door to the arena opened, and the light poured in. They stepped onto the field as one. The unstoppable opponent. The whistle blew, and the match erupted into motion. Team Ivalice played like clockwork, fast, fluid, and coordinated. Their movements were a sharp contrast to the Zephyrs' flexible, adaptive style. Ethan watched carefully as the Ivalice captain controlled the midfield. Every pass, every shot seemed meticulously planned. Within 3 minutes, they struck. The ball rocketed into the Zephyr net with laser precision. The scoreboard glowed. 1-0, Ivalice. Shake it off, Ethan shouted, rallying his team as they reset. We've seen this before. They play perfect, but perfection has cracks. Stay flexible. Tharn, push the midfield harder. Lysa, watch their striker. The match resumed, and Team Zephyr dug in. Tharn planted himself like a wall in the center, disrupting Ivalice movements. Lysa darted between their attackers, stealing a crucial pass. Lysa, left. Ethan called. Lysa launched the ball to Jix, who bolted downfield, his speed too much for the Ivalice defenders. Ethan, I see you. Jix shouted. Ethan sprinted forward, catching the pass mid-air and twisting his body to avoid a defender. With a quick flick of his wrist, he sent the ball soaring. It slammed into the net. The crowd roared as the scoreboard changed. 1-1. Yes, Rav shouted, slapping Ethan on the back as they reset. Let's show them we belong here. A battle of wills. The rest of the match turned into a war of endurance and tactics. Team Ivalice pushed harder, trying to overwhelm them with speed and precision. But Zephyr didn't buckle. Tharn blocked shot after shot, holding the center with unwavering strength. Tharn, watch the captain. Ethan yelled as the Ivalice leader surged forward. Tharn collided with him mid-play, forcing the ball loose. Rav darted in and cleared it. Counter, Ethan shouted. Jix streaked down the right wing, passing to Lysa, who faked a shot before redirecting it to Ethan. Ethan sprinted into the open space, his breath ragged, legs burning. Take the shot, Captain, Jix cried. Ethan planted his foot and kicked with every ounce of energy he had. The ball sliced through the air, faster than anyone could react, and slammed into the corner of the goal. The crowd exploded. 2-1, Zephyr. The final minutes. With only 2 minutes left, Ivalice came at them with everything they had. The Zephyrs were battered, breathless, but they refused to yield. Tharn blocked their captain again, growling, You'll have to try harder. Lysa deflected another shot with his tail, sending the ball spiraling into open space. Jix and Rav intercepted passes, breaking Irvalis' flow. 30 seconds. Ethan shouted, his voice hoarse. Hold the line. Irvalis made one last push. Their striker charged through, launching a blistering shot at the Zephyr goal. Tharn Dove. The ball deflected off his shoulder, spinning wildly. Lysa hurled himself toward it, clearing it upfield just as the final buzzer sounded. The crowd erupted into chaos. The scoreboard glowed. 2-1, victory. Zephyr. The moment. Ethan dropped to his knees, chest heaving as the realization sank in. They had done it. Team Zephyr, once mocked and dismissed, were champions. Tharn roared, lifting Ethan clean off the ground. You did it, Captain. We all did. Ethan shouted, laughing through his exhaustion. Rav grinned, his scales shimmering under the arena lights. They'll talk about this for years. Jix leaped onto Tharn's shoulder, pumping his fists in the air. Champions! We're champions! Lysa approached, a rare, full smile crossing his face. I didn't think we could take them. But you saw it all along. Ethan gripped Lysa's hand, pulling him into a quick embrace. It was always in us. We just needed to believe it. The arena pulsed with energy as fans cheered for the Zephyrs. Ethan stood with his team, pride swelling in his chest as he looked at the scoreboard one final time. They had proven themselves, not through luck, not through tricks, but through trust, hard work, and unity. Zephyrs! Ethan shouted, raising his fist. Zephyrs! His team echoed, their voices echoing through the arena as champions. Chapter 8. Triumph and Transformation. The locker room buzzed with the afterglow of victory. Team Zephyr filled the space with laughter, cheers, and the clatter of equipment being tossed into lockers. Ethan sat on the bench, exhausted but exhilarated. His muscles ached, sweat still cooling on his skin, but nothing could dull the joy in his chest. Champions, Tharn said, grinning as he dropped onto the bench beside Ethan, his massive form causing it to creak. How does it feel, Captain? Ethan grinned back. Like I need a week of sleep. But I'd do it all again tomorrow. Jix zipped over, bouncing on his heels. Do you think they'll make a statue of us? A big one, right in front of the academy gates. Me on top, holding the ball. Rav snorted, stretching his arms out. You'd need a magnifying glass to see you up there, Jix. Ha! Keep laughing, Rav. I'm still the fastest player here. Jix shot back, grinning. Lysa stepped forward, towel slung around his neck, his usual stoic demeanor softened. They'll talk about us for a long time, that's for certain. No one expected us to come this far. Ethan stood, gathering their attention. They didn't believe in us, but we believed in each other. That's what matters. He looked around the room, pride filling his voice. Every single one of you gave everything out there. We played as a team. We won as a team. And now, he raised his hands, we celebrate as champions. The room erupted with cheers again. The celebration. Hours later, the team found themselves in the Academy's massive central plaza, where a victory banquet had been set up. The holographic banners overhead flashed, "Congratulations, Team Zephyr, Galactic Tournament Champions." Crowds of students, instructors, and even past competitors milled around, some congratulating the Zephyrs, others still trying to process their stunning rise to victory. Ethan stood at the edge of the crowd, taking it all in. He sipped from his drink, the cool liquid helping him settle as the emotions of the day continued to churn inside him. Lysa appeared beside him, gaze scanning the scene. "You're quiet, Captain." Just processing it all, Ethan admitted. A few weeks ago, no one thought we had a chance. Now look at us. Lysa nodded, following Ethan's gaze as it swept across the plaza. Jix was showing off his footwork to an amused group of spectators. Rav engaged in an animated discussion with a rival player, his tail flicking triumphantly. Tharn stood at the food table, holding an enormous plate piled high while half a dozen younger students asked him for advice. "We've changed," Lysa said quietly. "Yeah," Ethan agreed, smiling. "We're not the same team that started this journey." A familiar voice interrupted. "Captain Harris." Ethan turned to see the tournament director, Zorlex, approaching. His smooth, obsidian-like form shimmered in the evening light, his reflective face unreadable. "I have to admit," Zorlex said, "you surprised all of us. Team Zephyr's performance was unexpected and impressive." Ethan shrugged with a small smile. "We were underestimated from the start. I knew we had the talent. It was just about bringing it all together." Zorlex inclined his head. "Well, the Academy acknowledges your achievement. This victory will be remembered, and I suspect many will now look to you as an example." As Zorlex walked away, Lysa chuckled softly. "You've done it, Captain. You turned the Academy's weakest team into champions." Ethan shook his head, correcting him. "We did it." A quiet moment. As the celebrations wound down, Ethan slipped away from the noise to the edge of the plaza, where the view of the Academy stretched out under a sky full of artificial stars. He leaned against the railing, letting the cool air wash over him. Footsteps approached, and Ethan didn't need to turn to know who it was. "Thought I'd find you here," said Lysa, coming to stand beside him. "Needed some air," Ethan replied, his voice soft. "Hard to believe it's over." Lysa studied him for a moment before speaking. "You know, I didn't trust you at first. I thought you were just another outsider trying to fix something broken." Ethan glanced at him, a brow raised. "And now?" Lysa's tail swished lazily as he stared out at the stars. "Now I know I was wrong. You didn't just lead us. You made us better. You saw something in this team that no one else did." Ethan smiled faintly. "I saw what was already there. It just needed someone to help pull it out." They stood in companionable silence for a long moment, the sounds of distant laughter and music drifting through the air. "You're staying, aren't you?" Lysa finally asked. Ethan nodded. "Yeah. There's more to do. More games to win. And more teams to show that anyone can rise if they work for it." Lysa extended his hand, a rare gesture of respect. "Then I'm with you, Captain. Wherever we go next." Ethan took his hand and shook it firmly. "We go together. Moving forward." The next morning, Ethan stood on the training grounds once more, the stadium now empty and quiet. The team joined him one by one, dressed in their practice gear as the early sunlight poured over them. "All right, champions," Ethan said with a grin. "You didn't think we'd take a day off, did you?" Tharn chuckled. "I was hoping for at least one." "No chance," Ethan replied. "We might be champions now, but the real challenge is staying there." Jix groaned. "You're already thinking about next season?" "Of course," Ethan replied, tossing a ball into the air and catching it. "We're not done yet, Zephyrs. This was just the first step." The team exchanged glances, their tired expressions giving way to smiles. They knew the journey was far from over, but now they believed in something bigger than themselves. "Let's get started," Lysa said, stepping forward. Tharn planted himself in the center of the field, cracking his knuckles. "Let's see if the captain can still keep up." Ethan laughed, tossing the ball toward the team. "Bring it on." As the Zephyrs began their drills, the laughter and calls of the team filled the air, echoing across the academy grounds. They were no longer the weakest team, no longer just players trying to prove themselves. They were a family, and they were ready for whatever came next.